Welcome everyone. Today's webinar on Supercharge your productivity with AI. That's obviously the buzz around the industry and across the globe. And there is a lot of exciting things happening in that space. So we definitely thought we'll bring a webinar on that topic. It's a very exciting webinar with a lot of examples, a lot of different tools, which we're going to try to cover in a very, very short period of time within the next 1 hour or so. In a very quick brief, I'm just going to talk about us as the sponsor and the host of the team. Myself, Raju, I'm going to be the host and facilitator for the session today. I'm part of bigdatatrunk, which is a corporate training services company founded in 2008, and want to thank everybody to be the members of our meetup groups and different groups. We are actually celebrating our 10 years. And literally, I was saying, and some of the attendees, I don't see those names, but some of the people have been with us since 2016 and still showing up. And even today's event, they signed up. Maybe they'll show up later. So really happy to be having the audience for serving them for 10 plus years in different formats, grown the groups in 5,000 plus with different Google groups and several different formats. What we do is we do provide training services on cutting edge technology mostly, but soft skills and leadership as well. And it is in the space of technology, soft skills, mostly corporate trainings, but we do a lot of individual trainings as well. We used to do a lot more, and we're starting to get back to that itself. So that's about us. I mean, today's topic is generative AI. We have around 500 plus courses, but out of that, 100 plus courses are AI related, AI, data science related. So these are some of the examples which we have. So in case your company is thinking or some of the programs we have, you are interested, you could look for that. So that's very, very brief quickly. Today's presenter is Aparna. She is one of the lead instructor in the team, and she has been hosting a lot of latest webinars on AI. Some of you may have attended her webinar before as well on Gen AI and AI. Today is super exciting because it's definitely much more in deeper and a lot of exciting stuff. The industry is changing, and accordingly, we wanted to bring that. I'm going to hand over to Aparna. And we have some interesting programs in the bonus for people who stay till the end. So hang in there. It's going to be exciting anyways, but I think also on top of it, we will share some of the exciting bonus things as a gift in the end. So with that, I'm going to pass over to Aparna. Aparna, over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Raj. Very good evening, everybody. Welcome to this session. So let me just get started with the screen share. Hopefully all of you should be looking at my slides right about now. Okay. So thanks. All right. So once again, welcome to this session. Probably some of you have been with us on some of our previous webinars that we have done on AI, generative AI, LLMs. Today's session is going to be exclusively from a user perspective in terms of all these varieties of tasks that we'll be able to handle very, very easily, improve our productivity, improve our efficiency. AI or Gen AI, obviously, like Raj has mentioned, is like the buzzword as of now. Whether we like it or not, I think, upskilling and being aware of all the tools that are available out there, the capabilities, then the multitude of use cases, pretty much any task across the board, irrespective of the kind of role that you play. We could be in IT, finance, HR. It could be a regular technical kind of a role, could be a more creative marketing kind of a role, or it could even be for our own personal use cases. Let's say you want to create some interesting game to engage maybe kids at home. So across the board, being aware of the capabilities of the tools, plus all those varieties of tools that are available out there, the free variants, then we have a lot of premium versions. So this really helps us in terms of being able to pick up the exact kind of tool for a specific need. So the way the session is going to proceed is we're going to look at some of the most common requirements. Again, we've tried to keep it really general, neither too technical nor non-technical, across the board applications that would make sense for the general population. Then talk about a few tools for each of those use cases, and then also try to fit in at least like a few demos of some of the more common or slightly newer tools that have come up, just to kind of give you all a taste of what are all the tasks that can be handled. Okay. Very little background. Again, like I've said, today's session is mostly in terms of being able to use them effectively. So the technical aspects, the LLMs, which models are probably better for what kind of a task, and then they all have their very specific strengths and capabilities across the board. So that might be a little beyond the scope in terms of the time that we have. So we'll just quickly move into the demo part of it. Now, generative AI, again, I would say that's more of a recent subset to that whole AI umbrella itself. Any sort of AI tools that also help us generate new content. It could be text, image, code, video. Um, there's no limit absolutely as of now in terms of the kind of content that we can create with these tools. So any of the tools that help us do that, and like most of us are aware, they are powered by these LLMs at the background. Maybe ChatGPT probably is one of the most common popular tools. We have a lot of options that are also available from Gemini, which is Google, Meta, all the major providers, right? And they have newer versions pretty much being released on a weekly basis. So this has also become a problem of sorts, having access to way too many tools, plus newer models being released very, very frequently. The learning curve, the amount of time it takes us to even figure out which tool is probably good for what sort of a purpose, that itself also is taking us a little time to figure out. But we are literally spoiled for choices right now. Way too many of those available on the market, and just through the free tiers itself, we can get quite a lot of work done among all of those tools. So they're all obviously powered by these really massive LLMs. The LLMs too, if you just look at how things have been advancing, we were probably looking at models that dealt with some 300-400 billion parameters even like a couple of months back. We've already had trillion parameter models being released this month and the month before that, if you look at Quen from Alibaba. So the models, in terms of capabilities, in terms of just the sheer amount of data that they have been trained on, plus the kind of tasks that they can handle, it's like blown up exponentially as of now. Now, across workflows, like we've already said, irrespective of the kind of tasks that we handle on a regular basis, there is a variety of work that can be done through all of these tools, and we're going to look at some of those samples. They have had a huge impact on industry. I think, just yesterday, probably one of the latest articles that I've read is Anthropic signing up with a lot of the really large organizations to upskill entire teams on usage of Claude. And you see that similar sentiment again across the board, whether it's Microsoft, Cisco, Amazon. You will have to be able to understand, be aware, and also get better at using these tools, because they do help in making work a lot more easier, a lot more efficient. And again, at the workplace in specific, all of us do have access to a lot of the enterprise level versions of these tools. So it is having a huge impact on the industry in general. Specifically in terms of productivity, 50% again, I would say these are average or aggregated numbers across the board. There are certain industries that are obviously a lot more impacted. If, for example, you're into SEO and you'll have to create, a lot of marketing content for multiple social media channels, I think the amount of time saved and efficiency benefits are way above 50%, because any typical visual design that might take a few hours of time can now be handled probably within minutes. Creativity, again, two approaches to this. Are you using your generative AI tools in that assistant mode as such, where the ideas are still our own? We are giving the prompts and then refining it, the outputs that are generated by the tools. So definitely they can help you in improving your creativity and the innovation, the way you handle your tasks. And the best thing probably is it frees up a lot of time for you to really focus on what strategically makes sense to you, either as an individual or as an organization. And a lot of the more common, repetitive, manual kind of tasks can now be handled through these Gen AI tools. So again, we are going to be looking at a variety or categories of tools. So we'll cover writing, image generation, coding, data analysis, reporting, automation. Again, at least try and fit in a few samples from all of these as well. So the first one, obviously, writing, something that I think all of us do make use of the tools on a regular basis. It could be just for drafting content, ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, Grok. Again, there are very specific tools only meant for content as well. It could be Jasper, it could be copy.ai or Writer. So again, irrespective of the kind of content, could be reports, could be email drafts that you're interested in, could be taking really long documents, being able to create really quick summaries out of it, or generate mind maps out of that. And sometimes maybe you come up with a very small, simple, basic version, and then you use the tools to go ahead and rewrite them and refine them. Also, the same content can be rewritten in multiple forms, depending on the audience to which it needs to go out. You can keep the tone very formal, very academic, something that is very lengthy and explanative in nature. So again, depending on how you just put in the prompts, you can make the tools rewrite the same content in multiple formats to suit a variety of needs. One other way we can use the tools is also in terms of, let's say like a brainstorming partner as such, create multiple what if situations, generate a lot of new ideas. So you just put in one basic idea and ask the tools to act in terms of that whole brainstorming approach, give you a variety of leads, and then kind of deep dive into any one of those ideas that have been generated by the tool. Again, I do have a few tools for each of the use cases, but this is very small. Obviously, this way too many. We could spend the entire day and still not be done with all the tools just for writing too, not even going to the other categories. So ChatGPT, I guess, something that a lot of us are already used to for any sort of content writing, short, long. You can mention what sort of format you want. You can show it a template and then say, do it exactly this way. For more specific refinement in terms of writing, I think Grammarly also is a tool. You can, in fact, get your own extension into your Microsoft Word or any other word editing software you use. Jasper, although it's completely in that paid tier account, one of the best tools in terms of content creation. But if you're interested in exploring maybe some of the more use cases that are available for free usage, Writer also happens to be one of those really good tools. So, you could just get one common email ID that you use to sign into all the free tier versions of all of these tools and just take a look at the capabilities, understand what each of them is good for. So, specifically, let's say you want to draft email messages or maybe a cover letter. The Writer is a tool that can help you do that extremely effectively. Notebook LM, some of you might already be using it, but if you're not, this should definitely be a tool you all should be checking out. Again, free tier from Google. In fact, if either you or somebody at home is also into, let's say, a very regular learning part of it, and you have access to a lot of content, you'd want to create flashcards, mind maps, or you have some base content, you have some reports, for example, and then you would want to create a slide deck on top of that. after the tool goes through all of that content, Notebook LM could be an extremely useful tool that can do that job for you really quickly. Perplexity again takes a slightly different approach over a majority of the other tools. It does real-time web search and then generates the content as per your prompt. So especially where you need to do a lot of extensive market research or you need access to a lot of real-time data, Perplexity would probably be a better choice over majority of the other tools. So let's just look at, a couple of demos. I've picked up, Notebook LM and Perplexity from that category. So I'm sharing my browser window right now. This is, again, almost all the demos that I'll be showcasing today are all on the free tier versions of all of these tools. You'll have to be logged in through some Gmail account to be able to access Notebook LM. And so let me just go ahead and create a small notebook for us. And strength of Notebook LM is with respect to consuming, a lot of sources and then creating content on top of that. One disclaimer though, and this is with respect to all the tools we'll be looking at. Now, most of these are free personal versions that I'm showing. If, your requirement is to be able to use them at work, mostly for work related purposes, again, depending on where you come from, we all do obviously have access to a lot of enterprise level versions at work, and those are safe in terms of whatever work related content you upload into those tools. But if your plan is to take any content that is probably proprietary or very specific to your work and experiment with it through the free tools, you should be really mindful of what data you're putting in into any of the tools for that matter. What kind of prompts, what kind of attachments are you uploading into the tools? Because then it kind of almost becomes part of public data sets that might be seen or that can be accessed by anyone at some point down the line. At least in the simplest of terms, all these prompts are something that we are willingly putting in. So the tools or the providers do have access to all of that data. So that is one aspect we should be mindful of before any of these tools that we're going to be using. So now Notebook LM, I'm just going to say upload sources. I have, just let's say downloaded a couple of documents on AI agents. Again, that seems to be one of the current flavors. So these are proper official documentations released by a lot of organizations on how we could use AI agents, slightly long form content. One of those is a 30-page document, another is a 100-page document. So I've just uploaded that. And now, depending on the kind of prompt you put in, I can say, summarize these 3 documents and generate a 2-page brief. Okay. So it's going to go through all that content. And again, the time it takes is pretty quick. For us to be able to do that manually, I think will probably take quite a lot of time. And at the same time, while it is summarizing, you could also ask for other content based on these 3 sources. For example, if I just go and ask for a mind map, which will give me a very quick overview of all the content that's covered in these 3 sources. So it's generating that mind map. This maybe takes probably up to a minute, depending on how deep the content is within all of these sources. Okay, so that's level 1 with respect to agents. What are the fundamentals? How would you go about building an agent? What are some guardrails you have to have in place? Then you can expand on any of those. Okay, let's say architectures here and goal-based agents. What are the various kinds of goal-based agents? And you can just download this entire image to give you an overview of the overall topic itself. Again, if you look at it in terms of the amount of time that we would put in, probably going through the 3 documents itself would take us a couple of hours, and then having to create this kind of a mind map that synergizes all of that information again would take another couple of hours. At this point, I would like to mention though, especially in terms of the learning aspect of it, probably reading through everything and doing this job by myself, I would become at least very knowledgeable with respect to the topic. That entire part of the learning obviously is something we are bypassing when we are making use of these tools. But where you do have, I think that's a problem with all of us now, is too much information overload. So being able to consume all those resources and being able to, maybe convert it into a form that you can very easily consume, that is definitely a use case that all of us can benefit from. Again, it need not necessarily be just in terms of work purposes. This could be a tool that everybody at home also uses, for their own personal requirements. Now, one other tool, again, for that content creation purpose in specific. Like we said, Perplexity takes a slightly different approach. I do have, maybe some prompts that are ready, again, just in the interest of time. So let us say we want to create a very deep dive in terms of very extensive market research and everything else. In that case, so I've been asking it, to create some sort of research that goes into maybe this entire year's worth of posts that have come out on any one specific product. So do a really deep market dive and then give me trends or give me some sort of visuals on top of that. One caveat though, Perplexity, this is my free tier. We do have access to other paid accounts of Perplexity as well. So that limitation is something that you're going to notice very frequently. So with the free tier variant, maybe, it doesn't go beyond 10 sources when it is trying to search for information and then create that entire report for you. But if I were on the paid account of Perplexity, so anywhere between 90 to sometimes, I have seen it go through 150 different sources at the same point of time. It takes some 10-15 minutes to even draft a very, very detailed report, financial reports, any kind of market analysis reports. So almost all of these tools, definitely on the paid tier, you're going to be able to see a lot more benefits and much deeper, better quality work on the paid tier variants in comparison to the free tier variants. So just give me a sec. Let me put in that prompt and we'll see, how it generates that content for us. Once again, this exact same prompt, if I were to go ahead and put that within a paid account of Perplexity. I think the screen sharing has stopped. Let me share it again. So we said, conduct a comprehensive competitive analysis on the protein market right now, what are pricing strategies, and a slightly longer prompt too, because I do want to do a slight deep dive into the whole market analysis part of it. So doing this kind of extensive research is one of the definite strengths with respect to Perplexity. Again, because it's the free tool, probably a couple of minutes and it will come up with the response for me. So it's limited or capped at 10 sources on the free tier. On the paid tier, like we've said, anywhere up to even like 100, 150 sources is what I've seen, depending on the prompt that we are putting in. So who are all the competitors? What are the customer metrics? And then, do you want to go further into any one of these aspects once again? So Perplexity is, again, anybody that needs to work with a lot of finance-based use cases, Perplexity is considered an extremely good tool for that specific purpose too. I'm going to go back to the slide now. So the next category, any kind of content that we'd want to create that also involves some visual components. It could be presentations, it could be brochures, it could be any sort of handouts, instructional material. So content generation, just the content that goes into the slides, and then the whole formatting or the visual aspect of it, being able to make it really appealing, aesthetic. Sometimes you also might want to make it consistent with whatever brand colors, logos that you have, specific templates that you have in mind. And especially if it is presentation decks that we're talking about, also generate additional speaker content that can go into the notes, that can be of help, when you're actually presenting the content itself. Plus, what are the best ways to be able to present all those visuals, especially if it also involves some kind of data. So now we have AI tools that can help out with all of these aspects. And I think, again, this is probably a task that all of us would have done at some point of time. A really well designed presentation, you want to keep very consistent look and feel throughout. You want to put in a lot of animation. I think you all will agree with me, it takes anywhere between 5 to 10 hours of time, even for like a 20-30 slide deck, if you want to do it really well. But thanks to the tools, if you have a good idea in mind, you already have a little idea of what outline you want or how the agenda should flow. So if you can put a slightly detailed prompt, you can use a lot of these tools to get that work done in a couple of minutes of time. So we have, again, a wide variety of tools. Canva happens to be one of the crowd favorites as such. But if it is exclusively presentations that you're looking for, Gamma happens to be a very good choice. And almost all of these do offer a free trial or a free tier as well. So some of them, maybe, you can only experiment for like a week or 14 days, but almost all of them have free tiers where the amount of usage is kind of limited, but you can keep work with them, in an unlimited basis. Plus, again, is like a completely premium version. A Copilot, most of you might have access, again, depending on where you work. So Microsoft Copilot, either for Word or for PowerPoint or for Excel, variety of purposes. So you can use it to be able to generate presentations as well. So we'll just do one more demo and then we'll probably take a short pause. So I'll be going ahead, and using, let's say, Canva for this. This is once again my free account of Canva. If you are on the paid account, you can get access to a lot more editing, a lot more templates. The premium options that are available are a lot more better. But then you'll see that even with the free tier variant, you can get quite a lot of work done. So for this, once again, I'm going to put in a slightly okay, let me just make it simple for now. I'm going to say create a 10 slide presentation. And you're not just limited to creating presentations. You could be doing any sort of, it could be social media content, an Instagram post, or images that are more suitable for LinkedIn. Or you could be designing, entire videos or multimedia content. Any of those are possible through Canva. But I'm using Canva with the AI mode to just go ahead and create a 10 slide presentation on, let me say, climate change and sustainability. Keep it aesthetic and use a blue and green color scheme. So you can actually mention, a lot more details in the prompt too. So one tip is, instead of putting a very basic prompt like this, a better idea would be you go and actually do prompt refinement through one of those earlier tools we saw. So you go to any of your content creation tools, put in this basic prompt and say, give me a refined, better quality prompt. And then it does that. And then you get that much longer prompt and put it over here. And then ask it to create the content based on that refined, expanded prompt. You can get a much better quality output. So it first generates a very basic outline for you, which you can go ahead and refine. So, you have the option of editing any of these options. And after that is done, you can ask it to generate the overall design. So maybe, it'll take probably under a minute or so, at least to generate some of those ideas. Content generation, especially that involves visuals, does take a little longer in comparison to just text generation. Okay, also generates multiple options for us so that you can go ahead and select whichever one suits your requirement perfectly. And again, on the pay tier, you can create a lot of your own brand templates as such and ask it to stick to one of those, so that you customize it a lot more depending on your requirements. Let's say this particular model is something that's okay with me. So you can select that and it's going to generate the entire presentation based on this look and feel. And then, individual slides, you can open it up through Canva editor and go ahead and make those changes. Because, this is a 10 slide thing, it probably takes a couple of minutes to get everything finished. So I'm going to reshare maybe again in a couple of minutes, but I'm just going to pause here briefly for a short while. So once this is done, we're also going to be talking about data analysis, how you would generate reports, also look at, image editing as the other demos for the day. But let me just stop share and hand it over, maybe probably a minute or so. And I've just opened it up in that editor mode, so that, all that has created the basic outline and even, the whole um, visual aspect of it, the color schemes that we asked. We can definitely go in and change any of these two. So let's say, I'd want to go with slightly lighter shade. So any of the visual elements plus any of the text part of it that actually goes onto the slide, the font choices, or let's say I like to change what content goes into this box. All of that can be shared, and then you can just download it either as a PDF or a PPT, so that at least the first level of work done really well for us through Canva. And again, Gamma is also another tool that is considered, to be really strong when it comes to generating these kind of automated presentations. Napkin.ai is one more where you also get to create smart art that goes really well with the content in your document. So these are all again free tier variants that you all can experiment with. Moving back to the slides, so that was with respect to presentations, which is a very common need. Then coding, again, I think this would depend probably more on exactly what sort of a job role you're in, how much of your work does require, some sort of coding assistance on a regular basis. But whether it is in terms of writing completely new, brand new code, whether it is in terms of refactoring earlier legacy kind of code, or in terms of debugging, fixing common issues, improving the code quality, generating documentation that goes with your code bases. Also, in terms of that assistant that kind of gives you a lot of comments and actually describes what is happening as you are creating the code itself. So, multiple uses in which you'll be able to use these coding tools. Once again, especially for work purposes, I think, depending on again where you work with, you would be having access to some of the enterprise or paid level variants of all of these tools. And they definitely have a lot more strengths over the free trial versions. But GitHub Copilot, Cursor, and in fact, Claude Code. Claude mainly is advertised as a text generation tool, but their code generation capabilities also are extremely good. Okay, so this is probably a good time also. Let me just share this other link with all of you. I'll also be posting this in the chat. So if you're looking at various common use cases and what are like currently the best tools that are available on the market. So this is again a curated resource, kind of crowd funded, you could say, because everybody who uses all these tools is who goes in and actually votes for them. So if it is for text, Gemini currently is at the top in terms of quality. Web development, so especially web development related code, Claude happens to be the best model. So you can look at all those various categories. If it is vision related tasks, if it is visuals that you're interested in, Gemini 3 Pro would be probably a good model of choice. So this is a good place that you can check up on, occasionally, especially as new models keep getting released very frequently, to see which of those models is like at the top in terms of quality and benchmarks for very specific domains and use cases. Going to go back to the slides again. So, okay, this was with respect to coding. So GitHub Copilot, Tab 9. Replit also seems to be doing extremely well right now. Claude Code is one of those recent additions that also generates extremely good quality code. Now, reports and document generation in specific long form reports is also something that is a frequent need at the workplace. And we do have, a variety of tools specifically for report generation too. So it could be a lot of raw data coming in from multiple sources or meeting notes, and you would want to capture all of this together at the same point of time while you're generating your reports. You also want to make them very professional and consistent, the look and feel part of it. Now, meeting summaries, again, I'm sure a lot of us are already using these capabilities, but otherwise, depending on the tool, whether it is Microsoft Teams or whether it is WebEx or Zoom, we either have access to a lot of add-ons that we can bring in, or sometimes the tools themselves. For example, if you're on Microsoft Teams at work, you can get Copilot to summarize all your meetings that you've taken that entire day and then generate the top action items for you. A lot of the paid variants also allow you to create proper custom templates as such. Notion I've used mostly for personal uses, but you can use it even at the workplace if you're on a paid variant to generate really long, professional looking reports. Um, and a lot of newer models or newer tools are being released again on a very frequent basis. We will look at one of the demos a little later. Moving on to another category, visual content generation, especially if you deal with a role that does require a lot of images to be generated or edited on a regular basis. Or this could be, very personal use case too. You have a lot of your own pictures, you're a photographer, you would want to do some editing, or you have some old photographs that you want to convert, change or edit for some other purpose, maybe for a party that you're hosting. You want to create videos. If you are into content generation, you want to maintain your own Instagram or YouTube channel. You want to again tailor your visuals, customize them according to your brand needs. So we have a variety of tools that help you do that as well. Midjourney at one point of time was allowing a little free tier usage too. Now it is completely premium. Only the paid tier allows you to even get some work done, but extremely good quality work where you just put in a text prompt and get quite a lot of work done through it. We have image generation from ChatGPT. If you're on the free tier, also, you can do up to 3 visuals per day completely for free, but you have more requirement. Better to go with the paid variant. Like we've seen Canva, not just presentations, image editing, or creating any other kind of visual content too is possible. Adobe Firefly, especially people who require it on a more frequent basis. If it is visual generation that you work with on a regular basis, then either Adobe Firefly, Midjourney, or Photoshop, which also has AI capabilities now, would be the preferred choices. One other category where these Gen AI tools might be of help could be with respect to data analysis. Now, again, we do have very specific tools only meant for data analysis, or you could be using any of your regular generative AI writing tools too. So you could ask ChatGPT or Gemini, or you could pick up Grok from X, put in your data sets there, and just with basic prompts, get started with the whole data analysis task. You can ask for long summaries. You can ask it to prepare the most efficient visuals to showcase that information, maybe some sort of a line chart to show up the trends, or generate a heat map for me to show the correlation between these variables. So you can just use regular natural language prompts to go ahead and do all this really deep data analysis as well. And then use them to also create, your visual dashboards at a later point of time. So some of the most common ones, again, available in both of those free plus premium variants. We have Copilot. Depending on the tool that you use it with, if you're using it with Excel, it helps you with data analysis. You use it with PowerPoint, it helps you with visual content generation. We have Tableau now, which does come in with this AI assistance. Similar to Copilot for a lot of the Microsoft suite, we have AI assistants now available through Google Workspace. So whether it is Google Docs or Google Sheets or Google Slides, you can pull up that AI assistance. Perplexity AI, which we've already seen, is also extremely good for specific data or research purposes. One other free tool meant specifically for data analysis happens to be Humata. So now let's just go ahead and look at a couple more demos, one for visual edits and one for data analysis. And the last part of the session, once we finish, that would be in terms of looking at options available for automation. So I'm going to go to Gemini now. And some of you might have seen this already. Their Nano Banana Pro, which is their most recent state-of-the-art image generation model, does extremely good quality image generation, image editing. So again, it's just our prompts that kind of are the limiting factor here. So you can take a very ordinary picture of yourself, for example, and then put in a very detailed prompt. I want this kind of a headshot and this kind of an attire. Maybe you want it to work as probably your display picture for your LinkedIn. So you want something that looks very, very formal. You see, just through that prompt, you can take a very ordinary, regular image that you have taken, let's say from your smartphone, and create it into that very official looking kind of an image. So let me just try doing one of those. I've just selected the image option at the bottom. You'll notice, that it's that Nano Banana model that we'll be using. I'm just going to upload an image of a cat that I just picked off the internet. So this is a cat that's probably sitting on a sofa. If you can, it's a little small. Now I'm just going to make it a little prompt I'm putting in here. I want to, edit it and make it look like a watercolor painting, for example. And at the same time, I also want a slightly different background. This could be two different prompts, honestly, but just to showcase what this tool can do. So turn this into a watercolor painting and then remove the background and replace it with the basketball court. I could have put anything else there, It could have been a meadow, it could have been a garden with cherry blossoms. So that's maybe, it'll take probably a few seconds to get that work done. Again, I do notice a lot of people, in fact, I myself have done that too. We put in our own images, maybe convert it into that Studio Ghibli animation style, for example. And it's okay, but the thing to be mindful of is any data that you're putting it, you're willingly allowing the models to use your data. So now, all the images that I put in are going to be part of a much larger visual data set that the tools themselves are creating, which they can use, when they're training other models down the line or for fine-tuning some other specific models that Google as an organization might be creating. So that is just one aspect to be mindful of. And again, I think very in line with the prompt, we've put very watercolor looking sketch with that small basketball court in the background. Very quick output too, right? So there are a lot of guides, in fact, that are available online, either on GitHub or on LinkedIn, where you can ask for, how would I use Nano Banana just to make very professional images that are suitable for LinkedIn, for example. Much larger prompts that you can put in where you can mention the style of photography, you can mention the color schemes, you can mention whether you want, sharp edges or dull. You can mention what lens size that could probably prepare that kind of an image. So you can put in a lot more details in the prompt and then customize this further. Moving on, let's do a data analysis demo as well. And I'm using, again, the free tier variant I have of Humata to be able to do this. Okay. In fact, again, this could be like an interesting experiment you all could do. You could just search for a lot of financial reports, year-end reports that a lot of the organizations keep uploading. In fact, you can get access to all the annual reports of all the major organizations ever put up on the internet. So there are websites that do that. And put them up here and then ask for, maybe either a report that you want or a very detailed data analysis that you're interested in. The limitation though is because I'm on the free tier, it doesn't allow you to upload reports that are beyond 60 pages in length. A lot of the reports that I was able to find online, Accenture, Microsoft, OpenAI, they were all running into anywhere between 3 to 800 pages long, the proper financial reports for the entire year, fiscal year. So if you do have, any smaller report, you can definitely upload that. Doesn't need to be only a PDF or a Word document, though. Could be any kind of content that you can put in, and then ask it to do a nice analysis and generate a report on top of that for you. So let me see if I can. Maybe this one is also longer, but this is a short, some 40-50 page earnings report from some organization. And then just click on this ask. It already starts generating. So this is one of the reports put out by Meta in terms of their first quarter earnings for this year. They have a lot of graphs with all their earnings that are showcased in the report. And now you can put in any sort of a prompt, a little deeper prompt, to kind of examine any one specific aspect. So this prompt might not bring in all the details that we want as of now. I'm just trying to show how to go ahead and use the tool, though, because this report mostly consists of graphs. There is not much content, but if this was a slightly longer report, it could have actually pulled out all of these details and created additional charts. So you can also ask it to generate tables for you. You can ask it to generate line graphs, bars, charts, any of those for you as well. So you can just put in any of those prompts here. It'll go through the report content and generate shorter summaries for you. Okay, moving on. I'm going to go back to the slides once again. So the final aspect that I've planned is in terms of automation. Automation probably seems like a big term, but then, even on a daily basis, at a very individual level too, we can benefit through these tools. Let's say at the workplace, you probably take a lot of meetings through Teams, and obviously a lot of us get pulled into a lot of meetings on a regular basis. So you can use Copilot with Teams to give you like a daily summary of all the meetings that you have attended, and then point out all the major top action items, or prompt it to create a to-do list for the next day based on whatever meetings you have attended today. It could be in terms of task automation. Let us say you are in charge of a team that has to regularly post out on a lot of those social media channels based on your research. So you can use some of those tools to create an automated pipeline that does that work for you. Or let us say you want to create a meeting agenda, then you want to create a set of slides, then you want to create an Excel spreadsheet with all those various statuses, you want to send out invites. You can use Copilot across the board through Word, and then PowerPoint, and then Excel, and then Forms, to automate that entire task for you. Or even through any of these tools, right? Again, it could be Slack, it could be Asana, or it could be Teams. So whichever of those tools you use on a frequent basis also have this AI assistant mode now, where you can ask it to generate summaries, or you can ask it to point out any thread where a lot of conversation is happening currently, especially if you're on a lot of Slack channels. It becomes difficult to keep track of all the activity happening across the board. So you can use these almost as intelligent assistants just for one part of the work, or to automate entire workflow. Zapier probably one of the top tools now, and you can connect to extensive number of apps when you're creating your automated workflows. And all of those other tools that we have mentioned do come in with that kind of AI assistance. So let me quickly go to, again, this is my free account, and the limitation is, you can only create like one level trigger as such when I'm on the free account. But if it was a paid account, you can create like a workflow that has some 10 different components. It could be pulling something from a Google Sheet, then create visual content, maybe a LinkedIn post, and then directly connect to your LinkedIn account and post there. And then based on the engagement that you get, pull in some leads, put that back into a Google Sheet so that you can reach out via email to them once again. So there's like a lot of long string automation that you can do. But since I'm on the free tool, let me just, okay, maybe this very small zap that I have So you're only limited to attaching one other app and then creating one level of work. So this small one that I have here, I have a Google form where people can put in feedback, and based on the feedback that they give, positive or negative, I want to send out a customized email for them, where I also give them, or send across some other product brochures. So this is like a product feedback form. So if they do show some interest, maybe I can engage further. So that's the extent of work that this small Zap is doing. And the good thing once again with Zapier is, even with very minimal background, right? You can just put in a prompt here. Let's say create an update project management tasks based on whatever spreadsheet entries you have. So you can put in a natural language prompt, and it picks up what all tools are needed. It sets up that automation for you too. You just have to give all those necessary access to various accounts. It could be your LinkedIn account, it could be your Quora account, or it could be your Google Drive account where those sheets are stored. So that part of the work is what we'll have to do. But then it can work almost entirely by itself. The only thing we need to be aware of is, again, if you're on the paid version, you do have access to all of those tools for each of those actions that we are trying to actually perform at that point of time. I'm going to just quickly go back to the slides once again. Okay, and just finish up, maybe a couple more minutes. So, how do you choose the right AI tools? At the workplace, maybe you do have access to those. Otherwise, depending on the kind of tasks that you do handle very frequently, you can pick up the best combination of free plus paid tier variants. One thing that we definitely do need to be mindful about is having that human aspect. Not take the output as is, but also check it for accuracy. Make sure we are not infringing on any copyrights. If it is visual content, we are creating any content for that matter. Also, make sure it does address your needs, so that your own personal input is actually what drives the entire workflow. Be mindful of the privacy aspect, and use it in that assistant of sorts. Instead of letting it do the entire work for you, use it as like a virtual assistant to speed up a lot of your tasks, or to help you do that first level of work quickly, so that you can spend some more time down the line in further fine tuning it. Start off with the free variants again. Just look at the capabilities, and if you think it does help you really speed up your productivity, then consider taking the paid variants. And also spend some time maybe upskilling in terms of understanding what the tools are about and what their capabilities are. Raj has already shared this, so I'm going to stop share. We just have maybe a minute or so. If there are any questions, we can do that. Otherwise, thanks everybody and have a good evening.
Thank you, Aparna. Really wonderfully done. Quite a lot of content packed into a very, very short session. So, folks, if you have any questions, please put in the chat. And thanks for being patient and being part of the conversation. I mean, it's exciting times. It is definitely exciting times, but at the same time, it could be scary as well. What I suggest is like a few things to keep in mind, right? I think it's an exciting time. It's an exciting world which we live in, but it could be scary if you're not partaking or taking a structured approach. There is tons of information. The challenge we have, and you all have, everybody has, is information overload, which we have today, and not what lack of information. So having some kind of structured pattern where you really take up an upskill, there is no denial. Everybody already knows it. If you're not, like, please change your mindset that AI is here to stay. It is a differentiator, a huge differentiator. I mean, we work with so many corporates and see there were difference, which I try to say, like, there was a world where as an employee was a better employee, and there was like 1.5 or better than other employees, or maybe a better rating kind of a thing. Truly, with AI, I know of people who are working and having AI agents, almost like an employee doing a marketing stuff, automation with these things, and they can amplify themselves to be multiple times, 10 employees, 11 employees capabilities, and people have resulted into huge businesses itself and workplace productivity. Please put yourself into a structured kind of a thing yourself somewhere, program. We strongly encourage you to do something what we are proposing, but feel free to take part and do something in that realm of things. The last part, which I would say, the final piece, which I think Aparna was saying, is The last mile is human. Please keep the last mile. The last mile is always difficult, and the last mile should be human. Do not take whatever AI is saying and giving you output. If you truly are just doing that, I really feel like you're insulting your human intelligence, natural intelligence. And there is a lot of value which we bring to the table apart from the AI. They are good in memory, they are good in organizing, they're good in speed, but there's a lot more which we can bring and we can optimize. We can give a requirement. I can change the prompt and I can ask for new things. So playing through that and like verifying things, it is making sense. A lot of people are using AI and just copying things and just submitting that as work, submitting that as an email. Do not do that. Take that extra effort, and that differentiates you from the rest of the things. Otherwise, you're just a commodity. So those are final kind of things. As I promised, thank you for being part of our community for 10 plus years. And we have been trying to set a lot of webinars and events in person as well. Before pandemic, we used to do so many of the in-person one. As part of this, thank you for that. I think we're going to share a coupon code, which I think fits in very well to this group right now who is left over. So this kind of a EI bundle, which we're going to give, it's a 6-program, 5-program course. And here is a coupon code for the first 20 people, sorry. So I'm just going to throw that in the chat. So if you would like, you could get that for free and perfectly fits into whoever is available right now. So with that, we are almost at the end of the thing. Thank you, Aparna, very much. And we can take any questions. Feel free to put in the chat. I put a lot of the things. The recording is going to be available. It is going to be part of the YouTube channel. That link is also shared. Feel free to check out our past ones. There are a lot of interesting stuff, and subscribe to that if you would like. But with that, we are done with the main part of the content, open to Q&A more. So thank you very much. Thanks, Aparna, and thanks, everyone.